Michael was 15, with messy hair, a worn-out t-shirt, and old sneakers that barely stayed on his feet. He always walked with his head down, like he carried the weight of the world, and everyone seemed to ignore him at school. Deep down, he just wanted a little attention, but nobody noticed, not even the teachers. In his backpack, along with tattered books, he carried a yellowed sheet music notebook full of scribbles, his little secret treasure. He sat alone in the courtyard, watching others laugh and play, feeling that tight knot in his throat that never went away. Every day was the same, being invisible, but Michael had a secret nobody could imagine, a secret that, if revealed, would change everything in an instant. He just needed a chance. At home, his father's old piano, scratched and with squeaky keys, was his world. Michael spent hours there, with music being the only voice that truly understood him. He tapped his fingers carefully, practicing scales and complex pieces, feeling each note as if it were part of him. Every melody carried his anger, his sadness, and his hidden dreams. Sometimes he lost track of time and forgot to eat, completely immersed in the magical sound. The piano was the one place nobody could laugh at him. There he was powerful. But at school, nobody imagined that this quiet, frail boy had hands capable of creating magic. In music class, Michael always sat in the corner, listening to others improvise. He tried not to stand out, but his fingers itched to play anything, yet he couldn't. Teachers gave orders, and classmates made jokes, and he swallowed his tears, trying not to explode. Deep down, he knew that if he showed what he could do, it would be a surprise nobody would forget. Every look of disdain fueled him, a silent rage pulsing in his chest. He wondered if anyone would ever notice that he had real talent. And if that day came, what would everyone's reaction be? Michael had the habit of touching his hair when nervous, tapping his foot quietly, and staring at the corners of the room, as if searching for a sign of hope. He was shy, but determined. Friends. He had a few, but no one really understood his passion for music. He was the kind of boy who, even when ignored, kept a flame inside that no one could put out. That flame was his most precious secret, and even if the world didn't notice, he knew his talent wasn't ordinary. He could feel each note vibrating in his heart, waiting for the right moment to explode. Most of the popular kids usually didn't even notice Michael existed, or when they did, it was just to provoke him. They called him the piano nerd, and laughed quietly as he walked by. That only fueled his desire to prove he wasn't just a poor, quiet boy. He wanted everyone to feel the impact of his music, to see that behind his simple appearance, there was someone extraordinary. He dreamed of one day walking into school with every eye on him, not to laugh but to admire. Thinking about it made his chest race, mixing nerves with a glimmer of hope. At night, before sleeping, Michael remembered the small victories he'd had, a piece played without mistakes, a melody he created on his own. He closed his eyes and imagined himself on stage, applause echoing, people wide-eyed. Those dreams kept him going, even when school seemed to crush his self-esteem. Every challenge he faced out there was just another step toward that moment. But he didn't know when or how it would happen. He just knew he had to be ready. What nobody knew was that Michael had courage hidden behind his shyness. That boy who always seemed downcast and withdrawn had fierce determination inside him. He wondered if one day someone would give him a chance to show his talent, if someone would see that he wasn't just another face in the crowd. And every time he got lost in thought, the idea of playing the piano for everyone made him tremble with both anxiety and excitement. One day he knew everything would change, but he needed the right opportunity. And that day, something different began to happen. An unexpected challenge was about to arise, a moment nobody could foresee, and Michael would feel the whole world watching him. His heart raced just thinking about it. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and prepared himself, not knowing that in just a few hours his entire life would change. Something big was about to happen. The bell rang, and the entire school started gathering in the auditorium. Michael walked in slowly, trying not to draw attention, but he could already feel eyes glued to him. Some whispered, others laughed quietly, and there they were, the popular kids, with smiles like they already knew they were about to have fun at his expense. One of them, a tall, arrogant boy named Raphael, stepped forward, pointing at Michael and laughing. "Hey, where's the little pianist show? Or are you just gonna stay hiding all the time?" The class erupted in laughter, and Michael felt his face burn. It was the moment he feared most, and at the same time, the one moment that could change everything. The provocation escalated, one after another, shouting for him to go up on stage. Some teachers tried to calm things down, but the tension was thick in the air. Michael swallowed hard, feeling his heart race. He thought about running, but he knew that would only reinforce the idea that he was just another weak boy. Silence began to settle around him, and the challenge became inevitable. He took a deep breath, remembering the hours spent practicing alone at home, and something inside him said, "It's now or never." He stepped onto the stage, feet heavy, almost shaky. Each step made the floor creak louder, as if the whole auditorium was watching his every move. The laughter of his classmates echoed in his head, but Michael kept his eyes on the piano, ignoring the insults. He knew that every key was a chance to show who he really was. Inside, he felt fear, shame, but also a spark of excitement. This was the first step toward something that could turn his life upside down. Whispers started up. Is he really going to play? It's probably just going to be a disaster. Michael heard it all, felt every comment hit him, but he didn't let it take over. He sat down, adjusted his posture, and took a deep breath, feeling the cold wood of the piano under his hands. It was as if the whole world had stopped in that moment. The audience waited, laughing and whispering, and he could almost feel the disbelief taking shape. But he had a silent plan: turn those laughs into admiration. Raphael and the other popular kids laughed louder, making gestures and taunting. "Come on, show us you can do something, or just another failure, huh?" Michael closed his eyes for a second, feeling anger rise inside him. Every mockery was another reason to prove they were wrong. He felt his body tremble, but in a different way, not from fear, but from anticipation. It was as if the piano itself was calling, "Show them who you are," and he responded with a slight nod, ready to start. The tension in the auditorium was palpable. Everyone expected a disaster, some even placing bets on how long it would take for him to mess up. Michael opened his eyes, faced the keys, and took a deep breath. He felt that every note he had kept hidden for so long was about to explode. He placed his fingers on the keys, and the room seemed to hold its breath with him. A small sound came out first, hesitant but firm. It was just the beginning, yet you could already feel the eyes starting to change. The whispers began to fade, replaced by pure attention. Every laugh turned into silent anticipation. Michael felt adrenaline surge, but he didn't let nerves take over. He remembered the sleepless nights, the creaking piano at home, his fingers bleeding from so much practice. Every memory fueled his confidence, and every note carried all that emotion. The popular kids were starting to realize they might have underestimated the shy boy from the corner of the room. And in that moment, something shifted in the air. The challenge that had seemed humiliating turned into an opportunity. The boy everyone had ignored was ready to turn the tables. Michael took a deep breath, feeling that first note change everything. And what nobody knew yet, not even he could fully imagine, was that in just a few minutes, the whole school would be looking at him with completely new eyes. The magic was about to begin. Michael sat down at the piano, hands trembling, heart pounding like a drum. The entire audience seemed to crush him with their stares, laughter, and whispers. He felt the weight of every expectation, every mockery, and for a moment he thought about standing up and running. But something inside him said, "Not today. Show them who you are." His breathing became short, sweat trickled down his forehead. He closed his eyes for a second, remembering the countless hours alone at home, practicing, making mistakes, insisting. It was time to turn all of that into music. The first note sounded, and he felt a chill in his stomach. The sound seemed fragile, but enough to break the initial silence. The laughter still echoed, but it began to fade in the face of the intensity of his playing. Michael didn't look at the audience. He focused on the keyboard, on his trembling fingers that knew each key like an extension of his own body. The tension in the air was almost tangible, each second lasting an eternity. He took a deep breath and allowed himself to feel fear and excitement at the same time. The second chord came out firmer, more confident. He felt himself finding the rhythm, connecting with the music he had kept inside for so long. Each note carried emotion, anger, longing, and hope. Michael remembered what nobody saw: sleepless nights, ignored hunger, the piano squeaking at home. All of that was now about to be felt by everyone there, even if they didn't realize it. The shy boy was about to show that his inner world was immense. Michael's hands began moving faster, but without losing delicacy. The sound started filling the room, making the whispers disappear. Some teachers furrowed their brows, surprised, and the popular classmates exchanged confused looks. The tension grew because nobody knew how this would end. Each note was a step forward in the challenge, each pause loaded with anticipation. And Michael felt it. If he messed up now, everything could collapse. But if he got it right, it would be unforgettable. He closed his eyes again, trying to block out the pressure of the auditorium. Adrenaline ran through his veins, muscles tense, mind focused on every movement. He felt the cold in his hands, but confidence slowly appeared, like a flame lighting up in the dark. He knew he could fail, but he also knew he had something inside him that no one else had. The passion and talent built from years of silent dedication. Fear was still there, but Michael decided to use it as fuel. Each following chord made the audience hold their breath. The popular kids tried to hide it, but it was impossible to ignore the quality of the music. Michael felt a mix of relief and tension, because the more he played, the more everyone realized he wasn't an ordinary boy. Each note carried real emotion, and every pause between chords heightened the audience's anticipation. The tension in the room was almost unbearable, and Michael was at the center of it all, balancing fear and control. Sweat streamed down, heart racing, yet he kept going, determined. He felt every breath of the audience, every movement of the eyes watching him, every heartbeat syncing with his own. Michael knew this moment was decisive. Fail now, and the humiliation would be total. Succeed, and it would be a turning point. He felt the tension explode inside him, and yet maintained the calm only years of practice could bring. Each key was a silent declaration of who he was. And then, in a moment that seemed to last forever, Michael felt he had found the perfect balance between fear and confidence. He knew the next chord could turn laughter into absolute silence, mockery into admiration. His heart pounded, the entire room held its breath, and he felt something he had never felt before, the sense that everything was about to change at that very moment. Something big was about to happen. Michael took a deep breath and let his fingers fall onto the keys. The first sound echoed through the auditorium, timid, almost hesitant. For a moment, some students started laughing, thinking this would be another disaster. But soon, the laughter turned into silence. The notes seemed to carry a strength nobody expected, as if each chord held the boy's entire life. He felt the weight of everyone's gaze, and yet he continued, confident that this was the moment to show who he really was. The second note followed the first, now firmer with rhythm and emotion. Each finger seemed to dance across the keys, gliding with surprising precision. Michael felt the music gaining substance, filling the space of the auditorium and surrounding everyone present. He no longer needed to look at the audience. He could feel their reaction in the sudden silence and fixed stares. It was as if the world had stopped just to listen to him play. Whispers and murmurs began to disappear. Even the most critical classmates who had bet on failure were left speechless. With each chord, Michael felt a mix of relief and excitement, and his initial fear began to turn into pure adrenaline. He realized that the music had the power to change everyone's perception, to turn the game around in just a few seconds. And every note he played was a silent statement. Nobody was laughing at him now. Michael began playing a more complex melody, and eyes started to lock on him, curious, surprised. Some teachers exchanged incredulous looks, murmuring among themselves. He could feel the tension dissolving, replaced by attention and fascination. It was as if each key had the power to reveal who he really was, hidden behind shyness and a simple appearance. The music spoke for him, louder than any words ever could. The rhythm began to intensify, rapid and precise notes intertwining, creating a harmony impossible to ignore. Michael felt his muscles relax, fear fading, and emotion growing inside him. Each movement of his hands was charged with passion, technique, and feeling. He wasn't just playing the piano, he was telling his own story through sound, making everyone there feel what he had felt alone for so many nights. The initial laughter disappeared completely. Some students even leaned in to hear better, unable to believe what they were witnessing. Michael realized he had captured everyone's attention, not with words, but with his skill, his pure talent. Each note was living proof that he wasn't just the poor, shy boy everyone ignored. He was someone extraordinary, and finally, everyone could see it. He left a dramatic pause between the chords, feeling the impact of each silence. The audience seemed to hold their breath, as if every pause made the music even more powerful. Michael felt a new energy running through his body, the same energy he felt when practicing alone at home, but multiplied by the effect it had on others. It was magical to see years of effort finally becoming visible, his talent impossible to ignore any longer. And then, with the final chord of the opening passage, absolute silence took over the auditorium. Everyone was frozen, staring at him with wide eyes. Michael felt a wave of relief and pride, but he knew this was only the beginning. He still had so much to show, so much to move and amaze. And in that instant, he realized that he finally had control of the moment, and nothing would ever be the same again. When Michael started playing the second part of the piece, the audience's eyes widened. It wasn't just skill, it was pure emotion, a feeling that ran through every note and seemed to envelop everyone in the auditorium. The laughter had completely vanished, replaced by wide-eyed stares and low murmurs of admiration. Even the most popular students exchanged incredulous glances, unsure how to react. They had expected a disaster, and now they were witnessing something nobody had imagined. With every chord, Michael felt everyone's attention lock on him, as if he could sense each breath in the room. He began to let go, allowing the talent he had hidden for so long to flow naturally. His hands danced across the keys, quick and delicate at the same time. Every note carried weight, every pause had meaning. It was impossible not to feel the intensity of the music, and the audience felt every emotion he poured into it. The surprise was tangible, and Michael realized he had captured every gaze in the room. The teachers exchanged looks of astonishment. Some murmured, "How can he play like that?" And, "I've never seen anything like this." Those who had ignored him before were now enchanted. Michael continued, undistracted, fully immersed in the moment. Each note seemed to hypnotize the listeners, each chord bringing them closer to a mix of emotion and disbelief. Even the classmates who had tried to provoke him couldn't believe it. They had laughed at him, but now they were captivated by the beauty of the sound he created. Michael felt a wave of confidence growing. He realized he no longer needed to worry about what others thought. Each note spoke for itself. He began improvising small variations in the music, showing not only technique but creativity and passion. Every gesture, every facial expression showed that he wasn't just a talented pianist, but someone who put his soul into the music. The audience was mesmerized, and surprise was turning into fascination. Some students began whispering among themselves, unable to hide their amazement. "He's incredible," Michael heard. "I've never seen anything like this." Each silent comment fueled him to continue, more confident, more determined. He knew he was breaking expectations, that every note was proof that no one should underestimate him. His emotion merged with the audience's, creating an atmosphere filled with admiration and respect. Michael's music started reaching higher tones, with more complex and exciting variations. Each chord seemed to tell its own story, and every glance exchanged with him carried surprise and wonder. He felt the audience's energy pouring into him, as if they were cheering along, anticipating each new note. This was the moment he had dreamed of, only far bigger than he had imagined. He was turning disbelief into future applause, even before it had happened. The audience's absolute silence during each pause in the music made it clear nobody expected this. This performance had changed the game. The popular classmates who had once laughed now didn't know what to say. Even Raphael, who had been the cruelest, seemed lost, unable to face reality. Michael realized that every mocking laugh had been replaced by looks of respect. It was the kind of surprise that instantly changed people's perceptions. And there, in front of everyone, Michael understood something important. His talent wasn't just to impress, it was to transform. Every note left a mark, and he could feel that nothing would be the same from that moment on. The audience's surprise wasn't just about what he played, but what he represented: courage, dedication, and overcoming obstacles. He still had so much to show, and now the anticipation was that the next step would be even more unforgettable. As Michael continued to play, flashes of his life ran through his mind. Memories of sleepless nights, sitting at the old piano at home, fingers sore from endless practice, eyes burning from lack of sleep, but his heart full of hope. He remembered the creaking sound of the old keys, protesting with every touch, yet never making him give up. Every difficulty, every challenge life had thrown at him, now transformed into music, giving soul and emotion to his performance. Michael thought of the days he was ignored at school, the looks of disdain, the cruel whispers from classmates. Every humiliation, every joke had fueled his dedication. He recalled moments when he almost gave up, tired of loneliness and invisibility. But something always pulled him back. Music. It was his most faithful friend, his refuge, and his secret weapon. And at that moment, it spoke for him, revealing years of hidden effort and love. He remembered his father, who worked all day and came home exhausted, but always found time to listen to Michael play. Even with limited means, his father believed in his talent and bought the old, used piano that was now about to leave everyone speechless. Each memory brought tears to Michael's eyes, but also a quiet strength. He realized that everything he had gone through had shaped him, and without those hardships, he wouldn't have become the musician he was. As his fingers danced over the keys, Michael saw flashes of sheet music scribbled in old notebooks. Compositions he had invented alone, endless rehearsals no one had witnessed. Each chord carried stories of perseverance and sleepless nights, of dreams and promises made to himself. He felt pride, but also a kind of peace. Finally, sharing with the world what had been kept silent for so long. He remembered the feeling of being alone at home, listening to the piano echo in empty walls, and how each note marked a step closer to his goal. Every piece he created carried pieces of his life: joy, sadness, anger, hope. And now, with the audience mesmerized, those emotions began to overflow, connecting the boy with everyone present. It was more than technique. It was story. It was life in the form of music. Michael also thought of friends who didn't understand his love for the piano, those who laughed because they couldn't feel what he felt. He realized that finally everyone was beginning to understand. Every note from the piano told his story, showed his dedication and passion. It was as if he was saying, "I fought so hard to get here, and now I'm here, showing who I really am." The power of music was greater than any words could explain. The audience, without realizing it, felt each memory, each emotion overflowing from the piano. Michael understood that his experiences, his pain, and his victories were present in every chord. He felt that he had finally found the bridge between his lonely life and the world, between the shy boy and the extraordinary musician. Every memory, every flash, was turning this performance into something unforgettable, something no one would ever forget. And in that instant, Michael understood that true talent didn't come just from skill, but from the life he had lived, from the struggles and triumphs. Everything he was, everything he had gone through was right there, at the piano, in front of everyone. And the audience, mesmerized, could feel it. Even without knowing every detail of his story, they could see and feel Michael's strength, emotion, and passion in every note. It was proof that talent and dedication can turn any challenge into triumph. Michael felt his heart race as he reached the most complex part of the piece. Every rapid chord, every sequence of notes seemed impossible, yet his fingers knew the path by heart. He no longer thought about anyone in the audience. It was just him and the piano, in a perfect dance of emotion and technique. The sound exploded through the auditorium, filling every corner, and he could feel the audience's energy growing with every second. This was the peak of his performance, and he knew it would define everything. His hands flew over the keys, precise and fast, as if they had a life of their own. Each note carried intensity and feeling, and the audience was mesmerized, unable to look away. Even the classmates who had laughed before now shivered with awe. Teachers exchanged admiring glances, unable to believe what they were witnessing. Michael felt a mix of fear, adrenaline, and pleasure. Fear of making a mistake, adrenaline from playing, and pleasure from finally showing his worth. He left small dramatic pauses, creating suspense with every movement. Each silence was felt by everyone, and when the next sequence came, it erupted like fire across the room. The popular students who had tried to provoke him were now frozen, unable to react. Michael realized he was controlling the narrative of the performance, turning every negative expectation into pure emotion. Each note was a precise strike of talent, each chord a silent victory. The rhythm accelerated, more intense, more profound. Michael felt his fingers moving with almost magical precision, as if the piano were an extension of his body and soul. Every note seemed to resonate within each person present, making the audience feel his emotions: anger, sadness, hope, pride. The music wasn't just heard, it was felt. He realized he had the power to touch hearts, to turn laughter into tears and disbelief into admiration. Some students began whispering among themselves, "He's incredible. I can't believe he can do this." Michael smiled inwardly, but stayed focused. He knew he still had to maintain the intensity until the end. Every gesture, every note was crucial. He felt the tension transform into ecstasy, each chord bringing him closer to the moment that would define his complete victory. The audience was fully immersed, not just surprised but moved. The climax of the music arrived with a final sequence, intense and perfect. Michael felt his body vibrate with the sound, every heartbeat in sync with the final chords. He poured out all the accumulated emotion, every tear, every night of practice, every lonely moment transformed into melody. It was the crowning achievement of years of effort and dedication. And when the last note sounded, everything seemed to pause for a moment. The auditorium fell into absolute silence, everyone absorbing the impact of what they had just heard. Michael breathed heavily, his hands still on the keys, feeling the power of the moment. He looked around and saw wide eyes, open mouths, and some even with tears in their eyes. That silence was more powerful than any applause, filled with pure respect and admiration. He knew he had won, yet he couldn't fully believe the transformation he had caused. Then finally the applause began. Shy at first, then growing like a wave that couldn't be stopped. Michael smiled, feeling a mix of relief, pride, and happiness. He had, in the best sense, humbled everyone's expectations, proving that true talent doesn't depend on looks or status. And in that instant, he knew nothing in the school would ever be the same. He had earned respect, attention, and above all shown that his dedication had been worth every effort. As the applause began to echo through the auditorium, the classmates who had laughed at Michael at the start didn't know where to hide. Raphael and his friends, who had gone out of their way to mock him, froze as if they'd been punched in the stomach. Some looked at the floor, others exchanged awkward glances, unable to react. The shy, ignored boy had become the center of attention, and now they were humiliated in front of everyone. Every laugh they had shared came back as an embarrassing echo, and no one could deny Michael's talent. The popular kids who once thought themselves superior tried to play it cool, but it was impossible. Even those who didn't care about music were speechless, unable to process what they had just heard. Michael felt the impact of the awkward silence hovering over the provocateurs. It was as if every note he played not only enchanted the audience, but also sent a clear warning. Never underestimate someone by how they appear. Their humiliation was silent, but devastating. Some classmates still whispered, trying to justify their disbelief. He's really good. Michael noticed every gesture, every expression, and felt a quiet sense of satisfaction. It wasn't revenge, but justice. He had proven through talent and dedication that appearances can be deceiving, and that any attempt to ridicule him was now ridiculous. The difference between what they expected and what happened was enormous, and everyone knew it. Michael looked at Raphael, who tried to keep a stance of disdain, but his eyes betrayed shame and surprise. It was a delicate, almost comical moment, if it weren't for the silent respect Michael now inspired. He felt a mix of relief and restrained pleasure, because every taunt he had endured had been transformed into something great. He no longer needed to hide or let other people's laughter define who he was. The teachers, previously tense about the situation, now smiled proudly. Some even shook their heads, impressed by the audience's reaction and the transformation of the classmates. Those who had laughed at him before now remained silent, absorbing every detail of the performance that had left them speechless. Michael realized that at that moment he had changed not only their perception of him, but also their understanding of respect and talent. The malicious laughter had been replaced by looks of respect. Even those who didn't like music began to applaud quietly. Michael felt that every note he played had served justice, and that the provocateur's humiliation was natural, inevitable. They had bet on his weakness, and now saw that underestimating someone could have unexpected consequences. Michael smiled inwardly, knowing that the awkward silence was part of his victory. As the music continued, Michael noticed the atmosphere in the school shifting before everyone's eyes. Those who once felt superior now bowed to his talent and courage. The humiliation of the provocateurs wasn't just personal satisfaction. It was a silent lesson in respect and acknowledgement. He had shown that dedication and passion overcome arrogance and prejudice. At the end of the performance, the applause exploded again, louder and warmer than before. Michael stood up, breathing deeply, feeling the energy of the audience and the change in his classmates. Those who mocked him were now completely defeated, but his victory was a T just over them. It was over all the moments he had been ignored and underestimated, and in that instant he realized the respect he had earned would never be forgotten, by him or anyone who had been there. After the applause finally died down, Michael noticed something new. Teachers and students began approaching him with genuine smiles. It was different from superficial recognition or automatic compliments. They wanted to talk, praise him, understand how that shy, ignored boy had managed to move everyone there with so much talent. Michael felt a mix of shyness and pride, unable to fully believe what was happening. Some classmates who had been indifferent before reached out and said, "You're amazing, man. I didn't know you had so much skill." Michael gave a small smile, not really sure how to respond. It felt strange to receive attention after so many years of being invisible, but at the same time, it was liberating. For the first time, he felt that his effort and dedication were truly recognized. Not just his talent, but also his courage to face the challenge. Teachers approached, some with surprised and even emotional looks. One of them said, "Michael, you need to show this in competitions, bigger performances. You can't stay just here." The boy felt his heart race. This was a real opportunity, something he never imagined could happen. Every word they said felt like confirmation that all the effort alone at home had been worth it. Even the classmates who had mocked him before now came forward, embarrassed, offering apologies and admiration. Raphael, who had been the cruelest, extended a hand awkwardly and said, "Sorry, I really didn't expect. You're amazing." Michael accepted the gesture without resentment, feeling a mix of triumph and maturity. It wasn't about revenge. It was about showing that talent and dedication always surpass prejudice and arrogance. Students from other classes began arriving, curious, wanting to see up close the boy who had stopped the school with his music. Michael realized his reputation was growing fast, and it wasn't for any superficial reason. It was for merit. Every glance, every compliment, every smile of acknowledgement reinforced the change. He was no longer the invisible boy everyone ignored, but someone capable of inspiring and impressing. Michael also realized that the recognition went beyond the school. A teacher mentioned external opportunities, music competitions, and even invitations for public performances. It was more than praise. It was a door to a future that had once seemed impossible. He felt a mix of anxiety and anticipation, but mostly hope. For the first time, he saw that his dedication could really change his life. As he walked through the auditorium feeling applause and compliments, Michael realized the impact of his music had been far greater than he imagined. Every person there had witnessed not just a performance, but the triumph of a boy nobody took seriously. He felt pride in himself, pride for facing the challenge and turning laughter into respect and admiration. In the end, Michael knew that this unexpected recognition wasn't just about playing the piano. It was about showing that effort, passion, and courage always find their place. He felt more confident, stronger, ready to face any challenge that came his way. And in that moment, he realized his life had truly changed, and from that day forward, no one would ever underestimate him again. After the entire performance and the unexpected recognition, Michael felt a deep change within himself. It wasn't just the attention he was receiving, but something bigger: confidence, self-esteem, and the certainty that he could face any challenge. That shy, ignored boy now saw himself differently in the mirror. Every step he took carried pride, and every glance from others reflected genuine respect. He finally felt seen. The laughter and mockery that once felt overwhelming no longer held any power over him. Michael realized that his talent and dedication were stronger than any prejudice or judgment. Every note he played, every applause, every compliment reshaped how people saw him. He was no longer just the poor boy in the corner of the room. He was someone who inspired admiration and recognition, and most importantly, he felt it for himself. Classmates who had once ignored him now approached with respect and curiosity. Some asked him to teach, others wanted to hear more music. Michael realized that even those who had mocked him began to see him differently. He held no grudges. His transformation was bigger than any rivalry or revenge. He understood that the power lay in showing his truth, his talent, and that spoke louder than any past humiliation. Teachers talked to him about real opportunities, competitions, and performances outside the school. Michael felt a mix of anxiety and excitement. This was a chance to keep growing, to show his music to even more people. He knew there was work ahead, but now confidence replaced fear. Every future challenge seemed like another opportunity to prove to himself that he could go far. At home, the old piano seemed different, now filled with stories that had changed Michael's life. He sat down and played, but every note carried a new lightness. He no longer played just for himself or in secret. He played to show that effort and passion are always worth it. Every melody was a reminder that he could face any adversity and transform through music. His transformation also affected the school. Michael began to be seen differently, respected by teachers and classmates, not just for his talent, but for the courage to face a challenge and prove that underestimating someone is a mistake. He became an example of perseverance, showing that it doesn't matter where you come from, but the dedication you put into your dreams. Michael realized that beyond talent, he needed determination and confidence to transform his life. Every step forward carried pride and emotion, and he felt more prepared for any obstacle. The boy, who had once been invisible, now had voice, presence, and strength, knowing he could achieve everything he dreamed of. His journey showed that true transformation begins within, but resonates throughout the world. And so, the poor boy everyone had ignored not only shattered expectations, but also completely transformed himself. He gained respect, confidence, and opportunities that once seemed impossible. Michael knew there would still be challenges ahead, but now he faced each one with courage, knowing that his talent, dedication, and heart were worth more than any prejudice or obstacle. The world was finally starting to see who he truly was.